Hello and welcome to the Pocket Gamer Awards 2022. My name is James.
And hi, I'm Kat.
And we are going to be guiding you through the best games that have appeared on mobile over the past 12 months. Perhaps you've seen the awards show before, perhaps you visited pocketgamer.com before, the site that both of us here belong to and work for in some capacity. If you haven't, the first thing I'm going to insist you do before you continue is add it to your bookmarks and make sure pg.com is the most visited site on your... Do they do RS feeds anymore, or RSS? Is that a thing, Kat? I'm not sure. Probably not.
Is it?
No, I don't think so. I think they went the way of the people. What did people actually used to listen to? I'm thinking the pre-podcast terms when they were doing like Feedly and all that kind of stuff. I never used RSS. Now stuff just appears on my phone.
I still do.
Really?
I still use Feedly. Don't judge me. I still do.
You're probably doing it right and I'm doing it wrong. Don't worry. You may notice that I'm sounding a little different to how I do in my videos. I am significantly under the weather and I lost my voice at the weekend and it's only just come back. So if I seem a bit croaky or slightly low energy, then that's why. It's not because I don't love games or any of you. It is just because I'm a bit poorly at the minute, but we're not cancelling this because we only get to be in 2022 once, right? So we're here and we're going to plow on through and we're going to celebrate the games that have come out this year, which is something that, and I'm not going to name names here where award shows are concerned, but I see some award shows where they seem more interested in the trailers than the actual awards, where they spend like 20 minutes showing, and then they go, oh, and the awards are like this. Anyway. And you're like, but what about I want to hear who won the thing. It always seems a bit of a shame. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be focusing on that stuff. If you've visited the YouTube channel before, then you know who I am already. I'm the video person over here. But Kat, this is the first time that you've appeared on the channel or on the stream. Tell us about you. Who are you?
Hi. So as I've mentioned, my name is Kat, and I write news, reviews, and features for Pocket Gamer, and I'm super psyched to be here, so thanks for having me.
We're super psyched to have you. We always try and get as many different folks on here as we possibly can. We're in completely different time zones on completely different sides of the world. Tell them where you're streaming in from, Kat.
I'm streaming from the Philippines, and it's currently 1 a.m. right now. Yay!
So I feel tremendously guilty because it's about 5 p.m. in the UK over here. So we are other sides of the world, but fine. We're not letting that stop us. Obviously, as always, yes. we're doing these things remotely. We're using the internet. We're using streaming software. We're in different places with different connections. If anything goes wrong, if things go a bit laggy or weird or something explodes, I always say that this is going to be the show that it happens. But, you know, unfortunately, we're not in the same studio with a load of big expensive cameras. So we're working with what we have. But we've been okay in the past and hopefully we'll be likewise. But if anything goes weird, don't worry, we'll fix it and we'll come back and carry on as we were. But as I mentioned before, we are going to be covering all of the categories that have been listed up on the site. If you go over to pocketgamer.com, you'll find that there is a page for the 2022 awards that's been put up and people have been looking at it. In some cases, they've been voting on it and people have been deciding who the winners are going to be. And it's our duty to reveal them to you. We are also, as you can see from the little graphic below, we are sponsored by Diablo Immortal, so we're very lucky to have those with us. And in fact, when you sat down, you did mention that, like, I can see Blizzard things behind you, Kat. Is that Blizzard stuff?
Things, indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge StarCraft fan, and I'm pretty sure people can tell what these are. And I've also got this little thing.
They didn't show me the plushie.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pew, pew, pew. His gun comes off and it's a Terran Marine. So yay. Thank you, Blizzard.
That is terrifying and adorable in equal measure. Very on message. So we'll be showing you something about new updates and upcoming content in Diablo Immortal during the course of the show as well. So yes, there is a little bit of that new stuff that we show, but mostly we're talking about awards. Are we going to start with our very first category of the evening? So we're going to show you the contenders and nominations for the best pick up and play game. Here we go. Survivor.io. Song Pop Party, Skip Bo Mobile, Scrap Divers, Rovio Classics Angry Birds, Poinpy, Otteretto, Mr. Traffic, Little Dog Bob, and High Heels. Now, the pick up and play category we've introduced this year because it's a really important part of what make mobile games mobile games. The reason that they work so well, when they do work, is often because they are tailored to the platform. I'm sure, Kat, you've played games where it's like they've ported something over from maybe PC or console, and you're trying to play it on mobile, and it's like got 50 buttons on screen, and it's not really working.
Exactly, yeah. So I think this list is super interesting, and particularly for Mr. Traffic, because I think I used to do I used to be a judge in the digital big indie pitches
Oh,
before,
really?
during the pandemic. Yeah, and I think this is one of, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is one of those games that won, but I'm not sure if I was a judge on that particular pitch, but I think this is one of those that won, and it's super interesting because it's not common that you see these kinds of games on award shows, I think. So it's really interesting that it's here.
We're lucky that we get to see this stuff because what Catherine's referring to is the Big Indie Pitch, which is something that Pocket Game has been running for, I don't know, 10 years or more now, perhaps, where we gather together a bunch of indies and we get some panelists and judges from around the industry. So there might be publishers or developers themselves, and we get them to have basically a kind of a speed date. You show them the game for like 5 minutes and then you move on. And then we choose winners. And it's a great way to see games sometimes in their early state, and also see people who are maybe just like 1 or 2 person teams, like which wouldn't otherwise get the attention of these big publishers or financiers or the rest of it. So it's something we really enjoy. And sometimes we see the next big thing appear. But yes, we should probably see who won this one. So the best pick up and play game of 2022 is Skip Bo Mobile from Mattel 163. So I have actually played this one, Catherine. This is a little kind of like, it's quasi-solitaire with a little bit of extra stuff mixed in. And I think it's one of those things where certain games, whether you play them digitally, whether you play them in the room with people, with physical cards, some stuff is just timeless and works no matter what. Are there games that you used to play as like physical card games that maybe you then started playing on digital platforms, or do you quite like pen and paper and, cardboard?
I think it depends on the game because I think like for Uno, I used to love playing it as a physical card game. But then when the digital version came out, I never really got into it. But for other card games, I think it translates well into digital versions. So it really depends on the game, I think. But for Skipbo, I'm actually not familiar with this one. It's either not popular here or it's just not popular in my circle at the very least.
Well, no, to be fair, I didn't play loads of card games, so I did have to go and look it up and give it a go. But I think things like Hearthstone demonstrated how well card-style games can work, especially on iPads and things like that. And it's just the ability to be able to grab, pick it, play 5 minutes, put it down. That, to me, is kind of the essence of what make a lot of mobile games great. You need to be able to kind of have that really self-contained, very fast loop. You don't necessarily have 45 minutes to play an entire Civ 6 campaign. So, not an entire Civ 6 campaign, that would take 45 years. We know what happens when you start playing Civ. You stop doing anything else. Right, let's move on to a new category. We've got a few to get through here. So, this is a new one as well. We've got the best update or updated game. So, the thing with games nowadays being what are effectively all live services in one way or another is they never stop changing. They're always evolving. Back in the day, you released a game, it appeared on a cartridge or a disc, and that was it. Done. On to the next game. Now, everything is constantly changing. And in some cases, and I'm going to say something like No Man's Sky here, games can release and be met with quite a lukewarm reception, and then over time turn into these really wonderful things. I remember Destiny getting 6 out of 10s when it launched because there was like 3 areas and nothing to do. And then suddenly it's, become one of the biggest things in the world. So it's always worth keeping your eye on what games are doing. So let's see what the best update or updated game of 2022 is. Here are the nominees. Figure Fantasy, Gordon Ramsay Chef Blast, Mini Motorways, Subway Surfers, Castle Cats, Forge of Empires, Beatstar, Knighthood, Duskwood, Clash Royale, Grand Chase, Revived Witch, Another Eden, Game of Thrones Beyond the Wall, Clash of Clans, Murder in the Alps, Cookie Run Kingdom, The Battle of Polytopia, and Pokemon Go. A lot of familiar names there, obviously, because these are the games that you just play and play and play. Is there an app on your phone or a game on your iPad that has kind of sat there for like years now and it just lives there?
I think that would be Figure Fantasy.
Really?
It's still there. Yeah, it's still there. I used to be really addicted to it, but then life happened. But it's still there. I do not want to delete it because I want to keep all my progress. So it's still there. I plan to get back to it someday soon, hopefully.
See that one.
How about you?
That one was a new one for me, Figure Fantasy, but I played Knighthood a bit. I had quite a good time with that. Subway Surfers is something that, like, even though it's so simple, that kind of 3-lane auto runner, hopping around thing, they have managed to keep it sort of fresh and keep introducing new zones and new areas and stuff in a way that I guess has been super popular. I did tap out of Clash Royale because, like a lot of other games, there are certain games where you look at it and you kind of go, all right, I see why this is really compelling and I get it. And if I do get sucked into this, then we're going to have a problem. And, like you said, life is happening in the background and I need to do things. So for that reason, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this down over here and I'm going to leave everyone else who has lots of time.
For my own sake.
Exactly.
For my sanity's sake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, there can only be one winner. Let's see which is the best update or updated game of 2022. Here we go. Cookie Run Kingdom from Dev Sisters. I know a couple of people who are super psyched on that game. They've gotten really attached. They've got a really nice art style, and that thing goes an incredibly long way. When you get the visuals right.
And the voice acting. For me, it's really, really good. It makes a difference.
It really does. Like some stuff can be considered like grace notes, right? So when you get a nice visuals, on the one hand, you can say, well, it's just visuals, and some of the best stuff, like Dwarf Fortress, is all made out of ASCII, and so it's all just like figures on a screen. You don't have to have amazing, Unreal Engine 5 visuals or anything like that, but you can have an art style.
Yeah.
And when the art style is good, that's what ends up working. It doesn't, like a lot of the Switch games, they don't have the most polygons because it's not the most powerful system. But when you get the art style right, that goes an incredibly long way and it ends up being super charming. And I think that one, people have been charmed a lot by Cookie Run Kingdom, I should say. So well done there. Now, here's something that's become super important. We've all come out, and it's weird to think about this because we've been out of lockdowns and things like that for a year now. But we all went through a big thing a year or so ago. And while, the COVID stuff isn't completely vanished, it's a little bit better maybe than it was. But certainly there was a period where we were all isolated. We were all trapped in houses or, trapped in our homes and forced to kind of live without the comfort of other people and be able to hang around. And one of the things that became super popular was Zoom, which is what Kat is joining us on today. So thank you, Zoom.
Yes.
But also remote multiplayer games. A lot of people started playing stuff online just in order to do something and to socialize. And it became a huge lifeline for a lot of people. For one, I was a Sea of Thieves guy, and I still am because of that. Like, it became a way to kind of hang out with people and play online. Do you do multiplayer stuff? Is there anything where you're like, I gather together with friends every Friday or something and we all play something? Or
It's interesting because that's a difficult question to answer without sounding like an antisocial person because I don't schedule these things, so it just sort of happens. But
Okay.
it can also come off as like me not making an effort, which is which makes me feel really bad. So I don't initiate it very much, but when it happens, and it's really fun when it does.
To be fair, that sounds a lot like me pre-pandemic because from my point of view, like I am the guy who plays like single player narrative driven games, and I was never one. I'm not like chasing high scores or anything. That's not tends to be how I play, which is why Sea of Thieves worked so well because it's sort of a hangout game. Like there is stuff to do, but a lot of it is just like
Yeah.
messing around on the ship and hanging out with your friends, and that for me was the real thing, and it's continued afterwards. But no, I'm very much in the same camp. I wasn't jumping on and saying like let's go and play Destiny because I was busy completing some miserable. I was playing Alien Isolation like a miserable git. But this is all
Ow.
this is all to say multiplayer is super important, and so we bring to you the nominees for the best multiplayer games of 2022. Apex Legends Mobile, Project Winter Mobile, Tower of Fantasy, Phobies, Diablo Immortal, Bloodline Last Royal Vampire, Stumble Guys, Catalyst Black, Rocket League Sideswipe, Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds. Lots of good options there. It's interesting to see Rocket League appear in another form. I know that when people were talking about bringing Rocket League onto mobile, maybe some people assumed it would be the normal vanilla game, but I was really pleased to see that they did something different with it, you know? Because sometimes when you try and just bring the standard game over, it doesn't really work that well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's not name names.
No, absolutely not. We will be naming no names whatsoever. But we should
Yeah.
name one name. That name will be the winner. So, who is the multiplayer winner of 2022? It's Stumble Guys from Scopely. Now, Stumble Guys fell very much into the sort of Fall Guys camp. And you sometimes see this where they create mobile versions of games that are maybe available on Steam or console, but you can't get an equivalent. And so someone else steps in and kind of does it. And for the longest time, there was a lot. That's what Gameloft used to be very good at, or what they made a career on. Like Asphalt was very much a series that was like a bit Burnout and a bit Need for Speed. And, you know, there was what was it? Nova was very Halo. And that's kind of what they did. But did you, for a start, have you played either Stumble Guys or Fall Guys? Did you get involved with that business?
I did play Stumble Guys,
Oh, cool.
and it's super fun. So congrats to them. I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, well deserved.
It's nice to play some stuff. Again, it's a great way of getting loads of people together into that kind of frantic multi-stage battle royale business. So they did a great job there in bringing it over. Speaking of
Yeah.
bringing things over, porting things to mobile can be tricky, like we just discussed. Loads of buttons on screen. They put everything that they have in the console version, and they go, let's just smash it all over the front of a touchscreen. You've only got two thumbs to use; it'll be fine. And then it's horrible. A lot of the times it's really bad. So it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of optimization in order to make it work. Is there anything that you can think of, Catherine, where they've either brought it over to mobile, something from console, and done a really good job, or I don't want to say the opposite because it sounds mean, but let's say it. Is there anything where you're like, I liked this on PC, but this sucks on mobile?
I'll answer the first question
Good idea.
because it's more positive. I think one of the nominees here, which is Kathy Rain Director's Cut,
Mm-hmm. Spoilers.
that one was really, really good. So, oh my gosh,
That's all right. You
spoiled
can
it
do a
for
spoiler.
everyone. Okay, I'm so sorry. It's just one spoiler, but yeah, so
But
that one
you're absolutely
that one
right.
was
It's because
really good.
it's because it's point and click, isn't it? Kathy Rain Director's Cut, and those types of games
Yeah.
suit the touchscreen really, really well. in a way that maybe
Exactly.
some other stuff doesn't. So I always feel like it's about choosing the right game for the platform. That's what makes something good. And I think you're absolutely right. They've nailed it there. But we'll share that one, but we'll also share the rest of them. So here are the nominees for Best Mobile Port. Spiritfarer. This is the President. Abandoned Ship. Scourgebringer. Road Redemption. Sigma Theory. Streets of Rage 4. Before Your Eyes. When the Past Was Around. Cathy Rain Director's Cut. Star Stable Online. Project Winter Mobile. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Oxenfree. Papers, Please. Some oldies but goldies in there, and some stuff that's only recently been brought over to certain platforms, which is why you're seeing some older things in the list. There are a lot of good ones in there, you're absolutely right. We're going to go straight to the winner. I'm really curious about this one, and to be honest, I can't remember. Looking at the list is cheating. The winner is... Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion from PID Games. Now, frustratingly, I haven't played this, but the moment when I was putting the show together, I was like, I mean, I'd vote for it on the name alone.
Yeah. I played the mobile version for a bit,
Oh,
but
really?
I didn't play the... Is it on Steam? I'm not sure where
it looks
it
like
appeared
it looks
first.
like a Steam type thing to me. It looks like they've got that don't
Yeah.
starve top down wander about thing.
So I'm not sure why it became... I mean, I'm not sure what the differences are between the two versions. So yeah, but the mobile port is good. So
they've done a good job with it. And again, top-down stuff that feels like when you can point and click in that way, those types of games work really well. A little bit of strategy, anything that involves you you go over here, or drawing a line or something like that. That
Yeah.
really plays to the strengths.
It's really one of the annoying things that some poorly ported mobile games do is that they still have these like virtual joysticks where you move from left to right. I mean,
Yeah.
why can't you just tap on the place you want to go instead of using the directional buttons? So
It's really tricky, and I think a lot of it is to do with muscle memory and people's expectations. Like, we're so used to using kind of like dual analog sticks or mouse and keyboard or whatever it might be, and for a lot of people, they expect that, and trying to do something else feels a bit weird. And I feel like we forget sometimes that there's a lot of people who did not grow up with a controller with one of these in their hands, and as a result they're like, that's a lot of buttons to deal with, and the brain isn't wired that way. So being able to just look at something and tap and point things, and some people will look down on it and be like, well, that's just making it simple and easy. But it's like, no, often the best stuff is simple and easy and accessible. You can build complex systems into it, but it doesn't have to be like, you shouldn't have to take an exam before you start playing it. It seems wild to me. Well, we were seeing some old games there, Papers, Please, things like that from the past, and this brings us on to the still playing category. We were talking about this earlier, and you said that Figure Fantasy is one of the games that's been hanging around on your iPad for a long time. A lot of us, we've got some classic games, comfort food, stuff that we love, and this is the games that you are still playing in 2022. Figure Fantasy. Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Garena Free Fire. Pokemon Go. Knighthood. Clash Royale. Pac-Man Party Royale. Illusion Connect. Fantasy Town. Raid Shadow Legends. Call of Duty Mobile. Forge of Empires. Arknights. The Oregon Trail. Sky Children of the Light. Hill Climb Racing 2. Azure Lane. Hitman Sniper The Shadows. and Clash of Clans. Some not surprising entries in that list, let's be honest. Call of Duty Mobile's obviously gone great guns. The one that surprised me in terms of having a big lifespan is Sky, Children of the Light. Have you played that, Kat?
I have, but again, just the beginning.
Okay.
It's hard to sustain all of the different games. So it's usually just the beginning. Not to say that it's terrible. It's a me problem. It's not it's
No.
not the problem with the game.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to say I
But
played all 300 in here, but no.
why would you say that's the one that's interesting for you?
Well, because it came from the team who made Journey. It's That Game Company is the name of it.
Yeah.
And Journey was this lovely thing, but it was a very deliberate, self-contained 2-hour, really, experience if you kind of you speedrun it. And when they released Sky Children of the Light, it felt like maybe it was going to be that kind of thing. It was the mobile sort of spiritual successor to that. So you expected a sort of short, self-contained experience. Instead, they've kept the thing alive with all these changing seasons and adding new content and new areas and new events going on inside. And it's like, it's brilliant because you get to stay in that world. And that world, similar to Journey, is this incredibly like ethereal, again, great art direction, not a million polygons, just really good art style. And it's a nice place to be. It's like a nice place to hang out, and it's social, but in a weird way where you were kind of speaking to each other through symbols, especially at the beginning, rather than anything else. And it was like a really novel take on it.
There's a concert that's ongoing right now, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're familiar, yeah. Yeah, so that's one of the things that's cool about it, I guess, because, the updates just keep coming. And I think they're really leaning on the social aspect, like you said. So with a virtual concert, I mean, what could be more social than that, right? So
Totally.
it's really interesting.
A good place to play a gig on those little floating rocks. Fantastic. Well, let's find out who the winner with a game we are still playing in 2022. Knighthood from Madoki Role-Playing Games. Now, I did play this one when it initially came out. I think there's a video up on the channel about it, and I get this one. I get why this is something that people return to. A really nice, stripped-down RPG battler where you're sort of, it's not quite turn-based or anything, but you're taking specific shots at specific times, real short turnaround in the battles. So it's not they're not dragging on for half an hour. And then you get to kind of, boost your stats afterwards and do that RPG metagame leveling thing. I enjoyed my time with it. And clearly, as a lot of these awards are voted for by the general public, as well as other people, it's working for everyone else as well. So,
and I think it's another factor probably is because it's a portrait game. So maybe people kind of find it easier to play, I guess.
Yeah, man, people underestimate the advantage of it's tough for me because when I capture video, I'm primarily a video guy. And I've got to account for the fact that a lot of people are watching on screens, 16:9 TVs. So portrait mode is always there's a lot of empty space, and unless you're watching on your phone, which is great, so it throws up problems for me. But that's how everyone holds your phone. That's and that one-handed, you can do the swipe with your thumb. And again, it's about embracing the strengths of the technology. We've got a thing that we use in portrait mode. Make the game portrait mode, make it work for it, make it playable one-handed, maybe. And then you've got yourself potentially, all the big ones you see, like Clash Royale, there's a reason it's played portrait and not landscape. Very good reason. So, people who, I like a landscape game. I love my IMAX screens. I've got my, big TV in the other room, but that doesn't necessarily make a good mobile game. So fair play to them for taking that to heart. But we were also talking about, we had card game winners before. We were talking about Hearthstone and digital board games in general. And it has sprung up as this kind of mainstay of the mobile gaming community. Hearthstone obviously has just got legs for days, and I know that other card games have tried. I don't think we've ever quite maintained the same level of success. Did you start using your iPad or a tablet or phone for card games and things, or do you stick to kind of arcadey stuff?
I did. I really like card games. If there's a roguelike element to it, because that's super super compelling. So it's hard to put them down because well, it's the very nature of the roguelike game. So
Yeah.
when you combine card games with roguelike, it's just unstoppable. Sadly for all the dishes piling up in the sink, they're very unstoppable. So
Well,
yeah, it's hard to resist.
we will see just how unstoppable these games are. Here are the nominations for the best digital board game. Journey of Greed, Warhammer Combat Cards, Card Crawl Adventure, Exploding Kittens, Irregular Recruits, Pornbarian, Magic the Gathering Arena, Skip-Bo Mobile, Phobies, and Dicey Dungeons. Now, Card Crawl, that's one I did get sucked into a little bit. They did a few games, that studio, and I don't think there's a roguelike element, but it's a really interesting one. And again, superb art style, but just incredibly Moorish, compelling loop on that. I played a lot of Card Crawl when I probably shouldn't have been doing other things, maybe.
I think mine was Dicey Dungeons.
Was that your one, was it? Okay.
Yes. Oh, It's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, it's great,
Yeah.
but it's terrible for my chores.
We know you mean good, terrible. That's okay. Let's find out who the winner is. Best digital board game in 2022 is Skip-Bo Mobile from Mattel 163. Our first repeat of the evening. So that card game is obviously working for people in all kinds of ways. Fair play to them. Now, we get on to a category that's sort of near and dear to my heart. This is the best storytelling. And as I mentioned before, when you accused yourself of being antisocial, I am also partial to a single-player narrative campaign where they're telling a good story and, you know, spinning a good yarn, and I get emotionally invested in characters. And then they all die, and I do a little cry. You don't have to answer this because it's a personal question, but has a video game ever brought you to tears, Kat? Have you ever been weeping over your screen?
I would love to answer this question. I love a good cry.
Excellent.
So one of those is actually, oh, they can't see it on my background, but it's Uncharted 4, the finale. So that one made me cry. Yeah, and then on mobile, it's Sumire. So it's like
yeah, I played that.
Yeah, you're familiar with that. So that one made me cry ugly tears. And then it was terrible. It was great, but it was terrible. And then my husband came in and just like sort of started panicking because I was like,
yeah, they do that. What's wrong? What's wrong? And you're like, it's so beautiful.
Exactly. It's so good. So it's that good. So. And I think there are more, but that was probably the last one.
That's a good shout.
For you though, back at you.
Anybody, like the game I always end up harping on about endlessly in every one of these things is, they already know I'm going to say, it's Mass Effect. That's the one that really got me. Like that got me as the trilogy, because by the end of the third one, you'd spent so much time with these characters and you'd been through a lot and invested so much. And I really feel like it's one of the peaks of the BioWare thing that they did. But weirdly also, the first Life is Strange, the very first one. I was really, like I am now, I was really ill when I played it. And I think my defenses were down. And that got me like hell at the end. I was like, damn. And I wasn't expecting it, maybe. And I was slightly delirious, but I don't want to disparage the game. It was the game that was doing it. That was class. That really got me. Hopefully, I don't know if any of these are going to be ones that are designed to make you cry or just make you laugh, get thrilled, whatever it might be. But this is the best storytelling on mobile in 2022. Here are the nominations. Hindsight, Oxenfree, Immortality, Grammarian Limited, Sumaya, Memento Mori, Spiritfarer, Desta, The Memories Between, Danganronpa V3, and we'll always have Paris. Some good ones on there. I did play Oxenfree. That one really worked. I loved Immortality. Did you get a chance to play that?
No, it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah,
I've been
that's right.
meaning to.
Now it's
It's
appeared
on
on the
my
Netflix
list.
link. It's
Yeah.
wild. It's like unlike, talk about taking some big swings, both in terms of narrative and the way that games are structured. It's a thing unto itself. I was very, very impressed by it. And try and avoid any spoilers if you can. I'm not going to ruin it here. Let's find out. I'm not going to wait around. Let's see who the winner of best storytelling is. Here we go. Spiritfarer from Thunder Lotus Games. That's probably ties quite nicely into the chats we were having about making you cry, because that's one of those games where I don't know if you've played it. Have you had a go yet?
I haven't.
Not yet.
It's also it's installed on my phone
Oh,
actually
really?
because I really like the art style.
Mm.
I judge a game by its looks. Sad to say, but yeah,
And books
the
by their
art style is
covers.
great.
That's right. No, it's.
Yes.
I haven't played all of it or anything, but I have played a bit, and the way that it fires up the themes, this idea that you're kind of guiding wayward spirits kind of to the land of the dead, sort of. It's got this slightly melancholy thing. It's like happy, sad, which is one of the nicest sort of mixtures, that like sweet melancholy thing that I'm very into. Some people might find it like a bummer, but I don't actually like that. It's a good feeling, and when they nail it without being too saccharine or sweet or silly. So no, I think Spiritfarer is a good call there. Fair play to them. On cheerier topics, let's talk about family games. This is something
Hooray!
right. So something you can play with everybody. This is another thing that took off, I think, during our lockdown period, where we were looking for stuff that not only you could play with your friends, but maybe something that you could get your parents involved with, or your cousins, or they're older or younger, or whoever they might be, who maybe hadn't done much gaming at all. And sometimes I think this kind of category is one that can make people think that it's not for them. I feel like in the same way a Universal movie, people are like, it's not going to be very interesting, is it? It's going to be like for kids and. But I think like one of the things Pixar did was they were able to go, here, you can make family-friendly entertainment in a way that works for everybody, that it says something to adults, says something to kids, and kind of covers the full spectrum. I'm kind of interested to see what this list is. I'm going to dive straight into this one. Sorry, let's see what they got, and then we can chat about it. So, best family game, the 2022 nominations. Disney Mirrorverse, a musical story. Heads Up, Song Pop Party, Wavelength, a party game. El Hijo, Memento Mori, Lego Star Wars Castaways, Skip-Bo Mobile, and Teacup. Another returning contender there we see, but also like it's the simple stuff. I too have played Heads Up, that thing where you do put the phone on your head, and it's kind of charades, isn't it? Right? And it's not a new concept. They've just packaged it in a way that makes it easy, and you can just fire the phone up within 10 seconds. You're in the middle of a game. And that's cool. That's kind of something. Is there stuff that you lean to, or like some fun family games that are like a bit, like Pictionary or charades or anything like that? What do you go for?
I think Scrabble was my go-to family game. So as a writer, I think I immediately gravitate towards word games, I think. But it's interesting for this list. It's all of the genres are so different. And it's interesting because people kind of see the term family like in their own different, they have their own interpretations of it. So, and I'm also curious about a musical story. I'm not sure if the subject matter, because I think it has to do with drug use, I think.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not, it's interesting. I mean, what really constitutes as a family game, right? I'm not.
Well, it might be tackling it sort of in a way that's intended for, a wider audience. I haven't played that one, so I can't speak to it. But certainly the Lego Star Wars games, they've always appealed. All the Lego games are the ways to get both parents and kids involved at the same time. That's a real worker. And as I say, Heads Up just kind of works anywhere you put it. But Let's find out what the folks have chosen as the best family game of 2022. It's Skip-Bo Mobile, Mattel, 123, the developers. Wow, that game is cleaning up. They have done, again, clearly touched a nerve and everyone's gone for it. And to be fair, like, it sort of makes sense, especially with this category. When home computers first started appearing when I was a kid, they were, like, the first thing that I ever saw someone playing, like, in my family was Solitaire. I saw, like, you know, my friend's mum was there playing Solitaire at home on it, because it's like Minesweeper and Solitaire were the first things that came in. So these games are just like, they appeal to everyone, no matter who you are. So it kind of makes good sense. So fair play. However, let's go the other way. Let's go from classic games that are easy to understand to innovation. We've got the list of the most innovative games on mobile. So I mentioned before about Immortality. That's something that I found quite an innovative game in the way that it was presented. And it's tricky because mobile at the beginning was a great place to make some weird stuff. I say that because when you're making a AAA game for a mobile console and you've got an $80 million, $100 million budget, there's a lot of pressure on you to deliver something that shifts, 35 million units in the first year. And so what do you make? You make a third-person narrative shooter. You make a Sony first-party game. You make Uncharted, or you make God of War, or you make The Last of Us, or you make a first-person shooter like Destiny or Apex Legends, or, you do something that is a tried and tested thing. Whereas the stuff I end up liking often is a bit weird. But, in a good, because I want to be surprised. Like, do you like the familiar stuff, or do you like stuff that kind of jumps out at you and goes, this is strange?
Again, it depends on the art style.
Right.
I'm kind of superficial that way, at least initially. So it has to appeal to me visually first.
That's
and
okay.
then the gameplay mechanics come next. So a mix of both, I guess.
You lead
For
with
you,
your
though.
eyes. Yeah, I like them weird. I like encountering a thing I've never encountered before. And it may not even be the best thing, but it gets points for being a bit unusual and catching me off guard. That's what I like. So let's see what you folks have chosen as the most innovative mobile games of 2022. Fighters of Fate. One Hand Clapping. Disney Twisted Wonderland. To the Dragon Cave. Survivor.io. Pikmin Bloom. Fitment. Before Your Eyes. When the Past Was Around, and Grammarian LTD. I assume that's supposed to be limited and not LTD. I'm just saying it that way. It's a bit weird. See, these ones, I know Pikmin Bloom people, took a shine to because it's using some technology that people don't usually use. I also saw Disney Twisted Wonderland, because that's when you see Disney game, you naturally assume, it's going to be, Snoopy and Donald Duck and all that, and you fire it up and it's like, it's not that. It's a bunch of different unusual characters. Have you seen that one running?
Yeah, I installed it using an APK.
Okay.
But it didn't really work for me because it's not available here. So
I see, of
sadly,
course.
it's not, yeah.
But it
It's
was
not
worth a
available
try.
in our region.
That's
But among this list, who do you think? I mean, what's the one that you think is, like you said, you like them weird? So
well,
what is the
of the ones that I've played? I know Survivor.io is getting a lot of love, but Pikmin Bloom was doing something a little bit different with the tech. They've tried to find ways of making. I'm thinking of things like AR tech, like Pokemon Go and stuff like that. They've always been trying to kind of repeat that sort of success that had, and pretty much nothing has been able to match it. But I like it when people try to do something, and it was doing something a little bit weird and fun with it. But I think we should leave it to the people to decide. Let's find out who the winner, most innovative game is. Disney Twisted Wonderland from Aniplex Inc. there you go. That was the weird one that I thought of off the bat. But you saw there in the art, in the visuals, it's not maybe what you were expecting from a kind of Disney game, but that's what makes it fun. It makes it a little bit different.
I just want to clarify because I realized that what I mentioned a while ago might sound like really bad, but the APK I tried was legit. It wasn't.
No, that is the sound of the police I hear in the background, Kat. Sorry. Yeah. I'm afraid.
Nope.
We're going to have to sub in.
Evil. Piracy is bad.
The fluffy toy in the background will be taking over as co-host of this stream. This is outrageous. It's all right. We've all downloaded an APK before.
But I did legit.
Exactly. I did it for legit review reasons. So, yeah. There we go. All right. Let's go back onto safer territory because I can hear the police chopper in the air. Action. Everyone likes action, right? That's the thing we can all agree on. That's safe territory. Nothing innovative about that. Action games. I think there was a problem at the beginning of the mobile turf where people were just, chucking old console games onto mobile and it wasn't really working, especially first-person stuff. Getting that twin stick thing to feel good on mobile was tough. But we've got there now. We're well past that. And now there's a huge line of successful games, even including the likes of a Call of Duty game that actually finally works okay on mobile. I'm sure it's among this list, but let's have a look. Best action games of 2022 on mobile. Noah's Heart. Boss game. The final boss is my heart. 20 minutes till dawn. Metal Slug 4, aka Neo Geo. Survivor.io. Zombie Gunship Survival. Apex Legends Mobile. Diablo Immortal. Streets of Rage 4. And Scourgebringer. There's some fun stuff there. Apex Legends, that's another one where I feel like it got off to a slightly shaky start on certainly Switch and mobile and has become much better over time. And it's now a thing that works really well and people have massively leaned into. And Streets of Rage 4 was surprisingly playable.
It's so good. I love the whole series. Yeah. I think I grew up playing, it was Bare Knuckles back then. Okay. So the version I played was Bare Knuckles. Because I think it was the Japanese version. So that was, it was titled Bare Knuckles. And all the translations were kind of off, but it was still really good. So the 20-year wait between 3 and 4 is just really worth it. So it's nice to see that here.
I don't think
indeed.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected it to be as good as it was. And when it came out on console, it was just superb. Like I played it through in one sitting with a friend. And they got the art style so right on it. They did the right kind of update while making it feel nostalgic, but it's also incredibly new. And yeah, it's wild. And the mobile version, when they announced that, I was like, ooh, really? You better get this right. But they did a surprisingly good job with it. So fair play. But all the classics there, I played Zombie Gunship Survival, and obviously Diablo Immortal and all the rest. But let's see what was chosen as the best action game of 2022. Apex Legends Mobile from Electronic Arts. Again, an example of a game where even if you get off to a slightly shaky start, because everything is live and constantly being updated and improved, things can turn out real good in the end. So I think that's one of those, certainly for the Switch game. Now we're going to go, I do love the action stuff, but do you enjoy an RPG, Kat?
Yes. And anyone who says otherwise should be stoned. No, I'm Brutal. Kidding, but nope. Yeah.
They can't be trusted, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm inclined to agree. Like I said, the Mass Effect stuff, I know it's action RPG, but that's kind of where I got started. I was a person who, my older brother played like tabletop RPGs. He was a proper nerd, not like me, casual nerd. So like things like Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu and all that. So my first experience of some games was actual RPGs. And when they rolled onto consoles and things, I always felt that they felt a little bit limited. But then when people started doing it right, when Bethesda were doing their Morrowinds and Skyrims, and then you got your BioWare with their Jade Empires and their Mass Effects and all that business, it's just the best stuff. Big stories, stuff where you just end up getting engrossed and gripped for tens and tens of hours. Too long, really. Let's be honest. We'll see what's been chosen this year. I'm interested to see what's in the rundown. So, best RPG 2022. The nominees are Dislight, Diablo Immortal, Nier Reincarnation, Soulvars, Final Gear, Castle Cats, Tower of Fantasy, Artery Gear Fusion, Dragon Quest Builders 2, and Figure Fantasy. I think we already know what your preferred winner is from that one.
Yay! I also like Dislight though.
Did you want
to that? Something different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very different. Yeah.
We covered that on the site as well, and you see a lot of the sort of 3 versus 3, creature battlers, turn-based back and forth. You see a lot of that stuff, hero battlers on mobile. And so after a while, after your 50th one, you're like, yeah, and here, and you do the thing, and the number goes up and whatever. But you're right. I was surprised at Dislight because it's doing something a bit different, and they've got that weird home hub where you can go and you can music, and there's a DJ booth and like a little kind of rhythm action game built in. I was like, okay, well, there's stuff happening here. Interesting. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. For example, the Dragon Quest Builders 2 took off in a big bad way. People really liked that one. And Nier Reincarnation is unusual. I think Nier has always been one of those series which either you get or you don't, I think. But it obviously worked for a lot of people. However, there can only be one winner. Let's see who it is. Diablo Immortal from Blizzard Entertainment. Let's be honest, it was a huge release that people had been waiting for a long time, along with, Diablo 4. And the news of there being a mobile version was always one of those things where a lot of people went, yes! And then a lot of people went, mobile? Really? And everyone always has that kind of reaction, don't they? It's happened to so many franchises. And as we've talked about with things like the Call of Duty mobile game, that one's huge. And people were like, oh, okay, no, actually, it's really good. We should shut up. This actually really does work. And clearly, Diablo Immortal has also taken off. It's been insanely successful. And so not a surprise that it's won this year. So congratulations to them. We're going to move on to strategy immediately because I feel like we're heading to the halfway point. This is good. So mobile strategy is you did a hand clap. I know that you like a bit of StarCraft. This is your bread and butter, isn't it, Kat?
Sadly, StarCraft isn't here.
No, I know.
Of course, it's not. Yeah, I wonder though. I wonder if they'll ever make a mobile version, or if it's even a good idea. I don't know.
It's so small. There's
Maybe
so many things on screen. It's tricky. A lot of the best ones, like I like the tower defense games where, it's designed for the screen in so much as the characters are a little bigger. You're still managing an army, a group of people, but it's scaled right for a mobile screen. Whereas I think StarCraft, everything would just be like a mess of pixels, just a wave of stuff you can't make out. It's probably for the best though. I think certain things are like, if I had this on mobile, I would just never stop. So let's see what people are playing this year. Mobile Strategy 2022. Jade Order, Disney Twisted Wonderland, Phobies, Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus, Western, Desta, The Memories Between, Sigma Theory, 100 Days, Into the Breach, Age of Frostfall. Some good stuff there. And Into the Breach, like, that's in there because it came out via Netflix again, like you were saying, that came out this year. That's a remarkable game. Like, I was a big FTL fan, and Into the Breach like carries, it's sort of a spiritual sequel, I guess. But did you play either of those, FTL or Into the Breach?
No, but I watched someone who did. Sometimes
Good enough.
Sometimes watching is enjoyable.
I agree. We hope
Yes.
so. Well, there's an entire channel and industry based around people watching people play
Yes.
games. So there must be something to
Exactly.
it, I think. But also, like 40k Tacticus, we went hands-on with very early on. We did a big Warhammer event earlier on in the year, so we were lucky enough to get a bit of access with it. That's doing something different and fun. 100 Days was really great. I spent a bunch of time with that, making wine, which is what it's all about. It's such an unusual game where you build out vineyards and stuff, and you're like, this is a game, a sim thing that, like, I'm enjoying this. Why am I enjoying this? I don't feel like this would be my thing. But it really kind of worked.
And Phobies too. Phobies is very unique, I think.
That one I've not played. That was
Phobies.
new to me. I saw all the crazy art. I saw like
Ah,
exploding things, but I've not actually had a go.
yeah. It's fun. So it's all about like fears. So you kind of use fears to combat fears.
Ah,
So
okay.
that's the basic concept. And again, the art is really good. So me and my art style
I'd already
fetish.
guessed it had a nice art style.
Yeah.
If Kat liked it. Excellent. Well, let's find out who the mobile strategy winner of 2022 is. Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus from Snowprint Studios. It's always been tricky to bring the full Warhammer experience onto a touchscreen, but I think the reason that game's working for people is because it doesn't try and do, hey, we're going to do gigantic army battles with like 50, 60 figs. It is dealing with small skirmishes, but still keeping all of that Warhammer 40,000 core rule stuff intact. So by paring it down a little bit, I feel like it really worked. So that one's not too surprising a win either. We are officially, it's about 2 minutes to 6. That's good. We're at the halfway point, probably slightly over the halfway point. So how are we feeling, Kat? Are we okay? Are we surviving?
Yes, it is, like you said, halfway. We're halfway through, so yeah,
I'm
still pretty
asking
good.
I'm asking you because it's like that means it's 2 a.m. for you. So
It
you know,
is.
you're doing well. We're gonna not long now. Don't worry. We're gonna carry on and we're gonna move on to the next territory. But first, we are, as we said, sponsored by Diablo Immortal, and we have got a little word from our sponsors. Going to tell you a bit about what's coming to the game in the very near future. Here we go.
To the west, where iron defies the sea, the wolf of Westmarch hides its spoils.
Terra's tied there. She's jumping back into the chair. I told her if you're going to go and grab drinks or whatever, do it now while the chat is happening. But she's back in time. So that was Terra's Tide. It's the second major update to Diablo Immortal, and it changes, as you can see from the trailer there, a bunch of existing systems and content. It's adding the Stormpoint Zone. You've got the Void Wound Heliquary, which is a hell of a thing to say, and a whole bunch more stuff. If you want to check it out, obviously you can download the game from all your mobile app stores, iPhone, iPad, and Android. Go and check it out if you fancy. So that brings us on to part 2, as we're labeling it. We're going to go straight into something different, sports games. I admit that I'm not the biggest sports fan in general. I don't watch a lot of sports. Do you follow a sport? If so, which one?
I'm not the best person to ask either.
It's the pair of us.
So
Excellent.
no.
However, I will say that a lot of the stuff in here is there's some games that I like when I don't actually like the sport. And I always think that's a good sign of a game. Like back in the day when I grew up when I was a kid, we had the Amiga. That was the first thing I ever got. So this is years and years ago. But there was a game called Sensible Soccer. And I don't like football at all. Sensible Soccer, on the other hand, brilliant game. Loved playing it. And I think the best sports games kind of, like, it doesn't matter if you care about the real thing. The game is just good. And especially when you start talking about racing games and things like that, because, still counts as a sport. I do like a racer. Lots of fun to be had there. So, we're going to have a look at the best sports games of 2022. Here are the nominees. Horizon Chase 2. Football Manager 2022 Mobile. Crux, The Great Outdoors. Rocket League Sideswipe. Bike Clash. Descenders. Urban Trial Pocket. And MMA Manager 2 Ultimate Fight. My eye is immediately drawn to Horizon Chase 2 because the first one was great and the second one's really fun as well. Have you had a go on any of these?
No.
The honest
I'm
answer.
so sorry.
I like it. No. It's much better than pretending you had.
Yeah. Didn't you play Crux, The Great Outdoors?
I did.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it counts as a sports game because it's all that kind of rock climbing. Basically, it's a little indie rock climbing game. And I think it's a very small team, if not just a single developer. And there was Crux, and I think the Great Outdoors one is the sequel. But it's one of those ones where it has something in common with that Flash game QWOP, where you control each limb of the character independently. And it means you have to sort of try and like control the legs, control the feet, reach that one up there, and then this. So it's very easy to mess it up and fall off. And when certain handholds, they time out and you kind of like drop. And so it becomes quite, against the clock.
I played this one.
You did?
Suddenly it's all coming back.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why it seemed so familiar. Yeah, I did play this one. So, yay, there's one off the list.
She's a sports person after all. There you go. Well, let's see who the winner is for 2022. Best sports game. Rocket League Sideswipe from Psyonix. Again, I feel like this was a super smart call on their part to not just necessarily bring Rocket League over, but go, let's make a mobile specific version. Let's make this sort of side-on thing that might fit better on a touchscreen. And I think it's fun. I think it works really nicely. And clearly other people do as well because they voted for it. So congratulations to them. Now let's get puzzly. I do like a nice puzzle. The Room series of games, I'm always talking about it, are some of my favorite ones. How do you find puzzles? Do you find them thrilling and you like the challenge, or do they frustrate you?
Yeah, I do like them. It's just I guess again it depends on how much time I have at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if like I'm in a hurry, it's going to frustrate me. But if I have all the time in the world, then the more challenging it is, then the better. So, but either way, I do enjoy a good puzzle. So
good stuff. Well, we've got, I think, a fairly wide variety looking at the list over here. So let us show you what your options are for the best puzzle games of 2022. Text Express Word Adventure. Please touch the artwork. One hand clapping. Crux, The Great Outdoors. Rocky. Automatoys. Alki Merge. Jade Order. Square Valley. And Railbound. Another solid list there. Now, Please Touch the Artwork is something we covered in the very, very early days, which is an unusual one, all inspired by different periods of art history. And again, if you're someone who likes visuals, this is something that you might enjoy a look at.
Sadly, I haven't, but I have heard of it. And I think that's that and Roki I haven't played, but the rest I have.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of surprising too. I didn't expect to have played a lot of these games.
What would be your pick then if you had to go for one?
That's such a difficult question. Maybe Square Valley.
Okay.
And and Text Express, because I think Text Express kind of did something different with the typical word game. And
Hmm.
for Square Valley, again, it's the visuals and the soundtrack. Square Valley soundtrack is really, really good. So
That
those
goes a
two.
long way. A good soundtrack really does set a thing
Yeah.
off. Fair play. Well, again, Crux the Great Outdoors appeared, which I was initially like, really? But then, no, I almost think of it as a puzzle game more than a sports game. So to me, that makes total sense. So let's see what was chosen, the best puzzle game of 2022. Text Express, Word Adventure from Gamehouse Original Stories. Now, I'm slightly interested on that because when I was putting together the video stuff, the trailer was surprisingly like emotional. It was like a kid crying, and we just saw the clip there. I was like, that's not what I'm expecting from like a game of Scrabble. What
Yeah.
is it that makes it emotional? There's like a storyline, is there?
Yeah. So I think they kind of focused on the narrative more. I mean, at least for me,
Hmm.
because I wanted to know what happened next rather than progress through the word games. So that was my main motivation because I wanted to know what happened next to the protagonist. And it's really an emotional story, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but even the beginning is already pretty emotional. So
Really?
it's worth a shot. It's worth a try.
I think since the movie Up, the Pixar movie, people started going like, let's make them cry in the first 90 seconds. And everyone reacted
Yeah.
so strongly to that. Like, I've seen that happen more and more. There's a game that came out this year called a gibbon. I forget the suffix, but it's where you're playing a kind of a gibbon swinging through the jungle.
Yeah.
And that's
Beyond
got
the
a...
trees.
That's it. That's the one. And that's got a bit of sadness, laced into it. And you see it more and more recently, where it's like, let's make them miserable before they even start. But
Yes.
not necessarily a bad thing. Let's see, best puzzle game of 2022. It's Text Express, Word Adventure. I'm gonna sneak away from that because we just did that and discussed it, didn't we? There we go. That's my disease poisoned brain talking to you. Sorry, everybody. I'm very ill. Making this up as I go along. What I meant to say, obviously, was how about the best platform game? That's something we haven't actually done yet. So, platformers were another thing that were really tricky, I think, to get right on mobile, because what you mentioned earlier about putting loads of floating joysticks on the screen, that's exactly what they did. They put like touchscreen, like floaty thumbstick over there. They put like A, B, C, D, action, action, action. And it's like, I can't see the screen anymore because this is just a mess.
Yeah.
And in the early days, the ones that got it right were the ones that just went left and right and maybe a jump, like maybe two buttons. That's it. Like going back to like a NES controller, super simple, but it ended up working much better. And now they've gotten much more intuitive, use gesture controls and things like that. I always remember the ones that did really well with it. Do you remember the Rayman games that appeared on mobile?
Yeah.
They
They're
were
really,
really
really
good.
good.
Yeah, and they were kind of one thumb games that you could just touch and play, and like they were nothing. They worked brilliantly. So I'm hopeful that there's some good stuff on the list. Let's find out the best mobile platform game of 2022. The nominees are Pocket Champs, Stumble Guys, Alto's Adventure, Spirit of the Mountain, Shovel Knight Dig, Samurai X Sword Style, Pointy, Tightrope Theatre, Disney Mirrorverse, Chefy Chef, and Daddish 3. Oh, I like seeing Daddish in there. It's like a really, I don't know if you've played, really lo-fi, like 16-bit
I did.
platformer. I've kind of played all of them. They're really fun.
Again, the visuals.
Yeah.
They're really good. Yep.
And they've got loads of like, because it's daddish, you've got loads of like little dad jokes, but it's just a classic kind of, 16-bit looking platformer with simple controls. It's not doing anything new really, but it's doing the old thing really well. And that, that's good. Point P is the one that that really took over for a month or two. Loads of people were talking about Point P.
Me too.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. It was so frustrating, but I loved being frustrated. It's so annoying. It's so awesome. And I kind of what really compelled me was that I wanted to feed the creature thing at the bottom because that's kind of my motivation because I felt like oh, I should feed this thing because I was the one who woke him up in the first place. So
You're
it's my
culpable.
responsibility. Yeah, I'm culpable. So
That's
it's really cute.
that's very
But it's
thoughtful of you.
interesting. It's interesting that what really counts as platforming because
Mm.
all of these games kind of have different subgenres, I think.
Yeah.
They're yeah,
They all kind of
they're very
like
different.
you can have everything from a simple side-scrolling 2D thing to something like Stumble Guys, which is, you know, third person and you're
Yeah.
jumping around all over the shop, and Shovel Knight Dig's much more of an old classic one. And yeah, there's a real mixture. But basically, I personally, if anything involves the jump button, and you can jump onto something
Yeah,
higher, it's probably a platform game, really. Let's be honest. So,
true.
so let's find out who the winner is. Best platform game on mobile of 2022 is Stumble Guys from Scopely. There you go. Well, as we said before, it's a game that obviously is inspired by Fall Guys and what happened over there. They didn't bring Fall Guys over to mobile, so there was this gap, and they stepped in, and it's become a big old popular thing for a lot of people. And I get it. The Battle Royale mixed with mad, silly, squishy platforming, it's fun. It's daft. It works.
Yeah.
So good for them. Now, here's a different thing. Here's something that we didn't have, we didn't even have this category last year, but Roblox. We've got 2 categories based around Roblox, and it's for a very specific reason. It has really sort of made a huge impact on the mobile industry, this game. And I say game, I really mean platform, because that's kind of what it is. It's something that has become incredibly huge and not least bit a little bit controversial as well in some places, but the ability to not only play loads of games that are user generated, but generate and publish your own games with a bunch of tools that are kind of handed to you. Have you ever had the desire, obviously you enjoy playing games, have you ever had the desire to make them? Have you attempted to try and build anything yourself?
Sadly, no, because I kind of feel like I want to keep the magic of the game a mystery because
Hmm.
I don't want to peek behind the curtain. So let's leave that to the developers. I'm just here to play.
I know what you mean. There are certain things where, obviously I do video, so there's an element of doing lots of video research and watching a lot of films and breaking down how they work can ruin the magic a little bit. And it's nice to have something where you're like, I don't know, I don't want to know, I just want
Yeah,
to do the trick, and I'm going to clap like that and say thank you. That's very good. I enjoy that. So
exactly.
good to have those things in your life. But certainly, Roblox is one of these things where it's given kids and everybody the ability to go and make games. Publish them themselves, even if it's just for fun, or and get compensated and paid for it. Now, I know people have been talking about there's been sort of controversy surrounding how much pay you get from each individual game, and people have talked about that sort of thing. And it's a nascent platform. It's something that's very, very new, and I feel like these things take a little while to get them right and iron out the kinks and all the rest of it. But there's no denying it has had a huge impact. The amount of money that flows through it and the amount of users it has is insane. So to ignore it is mad. So we're going to have a look at what has been voted as the best Roblox companies of 2022, the folks who are making games within the platform. The nominations are Powerful Studios, Big Games, Toya Play, Metaverse Team, Uplift Games, My Game 43, One End, Gamer Robot Inc., Real World, and Correctus. I do hope I pronounced that last one right. I'm not sure. We're gonna jump straight to the winner so we can move to the next category. The Roblox one. The Roblox best company is Big Games. Now, I jumped into the Roblox thing to have a look around, rather than, I'm not like a guy who plays loads of Roblox games or anything, or generates anything for the platform. But I did have a look, and it feels like you need to invest some time into it, certainly if you're going to be a creator, to get the most out of it. And I always find that there's a thing of curation with these platforms, like finding the game that's good amongst all the games that maybe aren't. Not to say that not everyone's a genius, video game designer, but we've all played user-created levels in games, and maybe they're not as good. And that's why you have level designers. But clearly some stuff has really floated to the surface, cream of the crop kind of stuff. And it's inspired some people to make their own games, and they're having a lot of success out of it. So that's what the next category is all about. We're going to take a look at the actual Roblox games that are the best ones of 2022. Let's roll straight in with the nominations. Pet Simulator X, Bee Swarm Simulator, Clicker Simulator, Blocks Fruits, Miraculous RP, Rebirth Champion, Sonic Speed Simulator, Shindo Life, Adopt Me, Your Bizarre Adventure. So I had a look at some of these, and a lot of them are, it sounds mean saying they're better looking than I expected, but they were better looking and more sort of complete games than I expected them to appear. Have you delved into Roblox at all, or is it something that you've kept at arm's length?
Yeah, I haven't, but my nephews and nieces have. So I do see a lot of the stuff that goes on in there, even if I'm not in there myself. So there's something about, I kind of feel like it's one of those catalysts that kind of inspires my nephews and nieces to want to develop games. They don't really feel like it's something that's super difficult to get into. They just want to develop games. And I think the big reason there is because they're able to play Roblox and maybe experiment there themselves, which is actually a really good thing, because at a very young age they get to explore what it's like. So again, it's really something that it's kind of revolutionary these days, because back then I don't think anybody, at least when I was a kid, I don't think anybody in my circle went around saying that they wanted to develop games. So unlike now, a lot of the younger generation kind of just really feel like it's a given.
They feel like it's possible.
Roblox is, they feel like it's possible. So I feel like Roblox is a big part of that.
I think Game Maker was one of the things that opened sort of simple 16-bit games up for people, but it still required quite a big learning curve. And anything that allows people to, create and give people the keys to it, and again, in an accessible way where it's not exclusionary, I am generally in favor of. As I say, it's early days, and hopefully they get all the other controversy issues ironed out. But if it's something that allows people to be creative on their own terms, that's kind of cool. So now we've seen a couple of these games appear. You've seen the Netflix logo in the corner of some of those thumbnails, and it is because Netflix decided to become a publisher. And if you have a Netflix subscription, then you will end up getting access to a bunch of mobile games that kind of pop up on your iPad or your iPhone. Every now and then they just publish stuff. Some of it's games that maybe existed on another platform, and they've allowed us to play it on mobile. They've brought it over to the platform. A couple of them are brand new creations as developed by studios that they were working with. Either way, it's A, something a bit new, and B, the quality of the games has been pretty good. Into the Breach, to name but one. So let's have a look at the best Netflix games of 2022. Nominations are Spiritfarer, Lucky Luna, Oxenfree, Immortality, Desta, The Memories Between, Poinpy, Into the Breach, Into the Dead 2, Moonlighter, Hextech Mayhem. Now I am going to reveal the winner of this one, and then I'm going to double back and reveal the Roblox one. because we got talking about Roblox and I didn't actually tell anybody who the game winner was. We're an unconventional award show where we name nominees and then we just wander off. We get bored. We go and talk about something else.
We are outlaws that way.
Very, very ill, everybody. Very ill. So loads of good games in that Netflix list. Let's just dive straight in. Let's have a look at the winner. I've played pretty much all of these, and honestly, bar a couple, I'm not going to say which. They're all really good. So, best Netflix game in 2022 is Into the Dead 2 from Pickpock. Played a bunch of that when it first came out. This is one of those games where Netflix updated it, added a bunch of new stuff, and then put it out. Still very playable, kind of an auto runner where you're just left and right and shoot the zombies. And it's the most video game of video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zombies.
I'm sadly not. I'm kind of a big scaredy cat, so I'm afraid
really?
of zombie games. Yeah, I think the only zombie game, not counting The Last of Us, because that's not really so much a zombie game than a drama, I think.
Yeah,
but
they're not zombies, they're clickers.
Yeah, clickers, fine, clickers. So I think the only zombie game I played was Resident Evil 5, and that was only because it was co-op. And I had my brother with me because I wanted to make sure somebody was in the room with me. So that's how much of a scaredy cat I am. So sadly, I do miss out on all of these zombie games that I know are really good. They're really good, but I just can't. I can't find the courage.
You probably wouldn't like this one because they're constantly running at your face. So, but it's good. It does it well. So
Nope.
That's a note for Into the Dead 2. Now, that Roblox list we were talking about earlier and didn't actually answer. So, the nominations were Pet Simulator X, Bee Swarm Simulator, Clicker Simulator. I'm noticing a theme here, folks. Blox Fruit, Miraculous RP, Rebirth Champion, Sonic Speed Simulator, Shindo Life, Adopt Me, and Your Bizarre Adventure. The winner is Adopt Me from Uplift Games. Instantly won over by that because it had a very, very cute CGI cutscene thing of dogs leaping on people, and I think people warmed to it. That one's been a big hit. I've heard people, like you said, with maybe you didn't play it, but your nieces and your nephews did. And I had the same experience. Yeah. It's like when all the kids were playing it, I think that's what happened with Minecraft. You know, suddenly you realized that your younger brothers or sisters were playing it, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is a real thing then. And it became huge. And I think a lot of Roblox stuff is falling into that category. And never underestimate the young audience to make something very successful.
Yes.
Now, we're into the Apple Arcade territory. So, like the Netflix service, where if you're subscribed to it, you end up getting additional games, Apple Arcade's been around for a few years now. It came as a reaction, I think, to people complaining about free-to-play, where they wanted the return of premium games that didn't ask them for additional currencies or anything like that. Where do you sit on the whole premium games versus free-to-play? Are you anti-free-to-play, or do you not mind it? You're pro, indifferent?
Kind of neutral. Yeah. I guess it depends on the game. So if it's really good, I don't mind paying for it. And even if it's free to play, I mean, there are really good ones out there. So it really, like the monetization, it will depend on how good the game is. If it's going to make me want to spend for it. So yeah, either. I guess I'm neutral about it.
I think it is. It sounds like a cop-out when you say it's about how it's done. But it genuinely is. Like, I play lots of free-to-play stuff that I really don't like. I think it comes off as, grabby and, all the rest of it. But these are the ones that I feel are bad free-to-play games. I've played loads of free-to-play games that are great. And they do it in a way where the monetization works in harmony with the game design, in a way where, yes, if you want to get some stuff, especially cosmetic stuff for fun, like go to it and enjoy. And, if you want to maybe get a little bit more currency for something, that's okay. But there's not like 12 different currencies and you're constantly being forced to buy it because it gates you after the first level and you have to wait for 3 days for something to recharge. And it's like, oh, come on. This is no longer fun. Like, I don't want to pick this up anymore. You're ruining it for everybody. So it's very much how they do it. But Apple Arcade was for the people who were like, no, I want it completely premium. And as a result, they were able to, in addition to getting some new games over, they did similar to Netflix. Let's get some older games and bring them over. Let's do some ports and let's revive some classics. So there's some good stuff in this list. Let's have a look at best Apple Arcade games of 2022. The nominees are Gibbon Beyond the Trees, Jetpack Joyride 2, Subway Surfers Tag, Thumper, Kingdom Rush Frontiers, Hero-ish, Horizon Chase 2, Song Pop Party, and Alto's Adventure Spirit of the Mountain. I've played most of those, and they're mostly great. Thumper's amazing. Like, did you play the mobile version of that one?
Of the list, I've only played Alto's Adventure, sadly. So
Hey man,
I
look,
can't.
Alto's Adventure is great. So you played a good one.
Yeah,
But
because I don't have Apple Arcade, so
oh
that's the
well,
problem.
okay, that does make a lot of sense now I think about it. Fair enough, I will let
Yeah.
you off the hook. But I was lucky enough to play a bunch of these. Like Thumper, I'd played on PS4, and then I went and played it on mobile, and
Ah,
it worked brilliantly because you can just do one touch and swipe and stuff. Kingdom Rush is one of my favorite tower defense series. That's an amazing game. The Horizon Chase series, that I think that I played on consoles as well, but that works beautifully on mobile. And Alto's Adventure was just that lovely little breakout thing where they made something very simple and visually unique.
yeah.
And it almost feels like a chill experience. It's incredibly relaxing to play that one. And I spent a lot of time on the early version, and they've kind of released different versions, slight tweaks and updates and stuff. So they've kept it going. Jetpack Joyride's wild to see that in there, because the original Jetpack Joyride, that's going back 10 years or something. That's the original release of the
Wow.
original iPhone, I think. Nuts.
Wow. And then you said that Gibbon made you cry, right?
Well, it
So,
certainly
yeah.
goes for that. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, it starts in one of those ways where it's like, oh no, and then you have
Oh,
to
no.
get your swing on in order to rectify the situation. But it's a lovely game. Let's see who was chosen as the winner. The best Apple Arcade game in 2022 is Subway Surfers Tag from Cybo Games. A little updated, upgraded, tweaked version of the Subway Surfers thing. So slightly different from the main game, but has managed to stay incredibly relevant and popular. Like, where everyone's tried a 3-lane auto runner at some point. Temple Run being the classic. Did you play Temple Run when it first came out?
Of
We
course.
all did, didn't we? Yeah.
I think everybody did, yeah.
And little did we know that's going to birth an entire genre that becomes like huge. Whenever they do a movie tie-in for a while, you'd always get one of those 3-lane auto runners every time, whatever it was. But
Yeah.
Subway Surfers is the one that's like stuck the landing, and everyone comes back to. And it only takes one to work, and they really made it work. So the tag is a nice little tweak. If you haven't played it, you can grab that now. Now, we were talking about multiplayer games earlier and the importance of bringing people together. And in order to do that, you do need to have a community. And this is something where people have voted for their favorite communities within the gaming landscape. So I know that there are lots of people who, for example, you play Destiny. There's a huge community around Destiny where people meet up, and there are boards and there are forums and Discord places where everyone gathers and shares their tips. And hey, I'm going to do this raid in 5 minutes, and you want to get involved? And certain communities can really start thriving, all their own in-jokes, their own memes, all that business. Did you get sucked into a game and start like reaching out to other people who played it, or did you kind of keep it within your friends, sharing tips and whatnot?
I think that happened with Ragnarok, the very first, the classic one, Ragnarok Online. So that was way back then. And then when the mobile version, there are so many mobile. Oh, that was Ragnarok Eternal Love.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when when we got really into, like, we had our own Discord for the guild, and all of these were strangers. So we kind of built our own community. And then like a few of them even got married in the game. So we all
Really?
kind of like attended. Yeah. There was like an announcement that so and so were going to get married and we all had to attend and it was really fun. I kind of
That's
miss that
wild.
now. Yeah. It's
It's
hard
kind
to
of nice.
find the time these days.
The one that came to mind recently was Pokemon Go. When that started happening, I know a lot of people started going, "Hey, I'm going out to go and catch some Pokemon. Do you want to come, or do you want to meet up? There's this, there's a gym over there, so let's all meet up at that location." And you'd see people gathered around, pointing their phones at a tree. You're like, "What are they doing?" And then you realize, "Oh, Pokemon Go, isn't it? Of course." And that became this huge, thriving thing that everybody got involved with. And I think Subway Surfers created one as well. Like that's a thriving community of people who talk to each other and share tips and tricks and whatnot. So it's definitely alive and well on mobile. So let's see. This is the best community games as voted for. Sorry, best community, not the games, as voted for by you. Here are the nominees: Pokemon Go, Castle Cats, Cookie Run Kingdom, Clicker Simulator, League of Legends Wild Rift, Clash Mini, Toya Play, Subway Surfers, Alchemurge. Some of the ones I just mentioned there, funnily enough. But also Knighthood. It's interesting to see. I've not engaged with the community because I'm a miserable owner. But I can see why people would want to, like, having played it a bunch, like maybe share some tips and tricks. And yeah, maybe I should look into that instead of just forging on myself. But again, Pokemon Go, very big. Cooking Run Kingdom continues to be massive. I'm curious now. Let's just find out. The winner of the best community, as chosen for by you, is Cookie Run Kingdom by Dev Sisters. Another win for the cute art style, but
Yeah.
I guess the boards must be thriving.
It's also interesting because I also played this one, but like you, I haven't really interacted with the community much. I should probably do that too. Let's stop being miserable loners.
It's okay. No, it's okay to attack these things solo. That's not a problem. But the community is good. And if you are going to engage with the community, you're going to need a community tool. That is what we call a segue. This is the best community tools. So we are talking about things like if it's going to exist, you need to have a way of communicating. So whether that's going to be forum boards, whether that's going to be, hey, we're talking on Zoom right now, or whatever messaging app that you choose to use, these things have to thrive and live somewhere. And we need tools to facilitate that very thing. So this is a list of nominees for the best community tool of 2022. Facebook, YouTube, PV Poke, Discord, Tier Maker, Twitter, Twitch, BBC, or BCC I should say, Mobalytics, and Icy Veins. A couple there that I haven't encountered. Obviously all the regulars I've experienced. I'm wondering if Icy Veins is maybe different territories or specific games.
I'm not familiar with it either.
No, but certainly
yeah.
So many of them you have open in the background while you're playing games. Whether you're looking up tips on YouTube or whether you're using, Skype or something to chat to people in the background. Twitter probably less so for like game tips and stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess you can Google and find things out. And let's just I think I know what the winner is in this one, but let's have it confirmed. I just want to see. The winner of the best community tool is Discord. Not a huge shock. That's the one that most people default to, isn't it?
Yeah.
They kind of love it. And it's the one that everyone latched onto. It's specifically a gamer thing. I don't know, because of the different channels that you could use and all the rest of it. Like, I think people were using Skype before and then everyone just migrated and it became the best one for games.
It's interesting how that happened. I don't think they predicted that. So it kind of happened naturally, I guess.
Yeah, unbelievable. Actually, I just found out that the Icy Veins one, it's part of the Enthusiast Gaming Network, which is the company that we are a part of, as a part of. Now, I've already put up my miserable not community credential, so that's maybe why I hadn't heard of it. But, some of these things you can't avoid. Like, we all know what YouTube is. I live there. God.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to Discord in this instance. Now, we are entering kind of the home stretch. We're going to, in the next three, sort of the big three. We've got publishers, developers, and of course, the game of the year. So we're going to start off with the best mobile publisher. The nominees are Quali, Aristocrat Leisure, Netmarble, Fun Plus, Rollic, XD, Supercell, Netflix, NetEase, and Plug-in Digital Games. I don't think people think of publishers in the same way that they associate games with developers and things like that, but they end up being quite instrumental. I think the problem with a lot of stuff is we're involved in the industry, you and I, so the longer you spend there, the more you know, like, well, the developers, they've got to get the money from somewhere, and they've got to get the games released in different regions, and this is where publishers step in. And a lot of our conferences, we do the Pocket Gamer Connects conferences all around the world. I think that's where we met for the first time, isn't it? Where did you come to the Hong Kong event? Am I making that up, or?
That was probably not me.
Probably not you.
I think we've only met online so far.
Okay. There's a good chance, but like I know that there are lots of people in all the different regions who wound up kind of congregating at these events that we do. And the idea is that whether you're a gamer or a developer or a publisher or a financier or whatever, you can kind of go there and take the pulse of the industry. We do all these talks. You can go and find out. Pocket Gamer Connects. Just put that into Google and you'll be able to find out a whole mess of stuff. Come to the next event. It's going to be in London in January, end of January. It's going to be a cracker. It's going to be the biggest one yet. But yes, publishers, I don't think they count in the sexy category in the same way as we talk about like, developers, like people who like, you can point to a person and go, yes, you made that game and you're very cool. I think like movie directors fall into this category. People know the director, but they don't know like the producer or the DP or the sound engineer. Like they're all kind of important, and this is a whole thing. So you've seen the lists there. The winner of the best publisher on mobile 2022 is Netflix. Based on what we saw on that list, honestly, not that surprised.
Yeah, and definitely well deserved. I think there are more games to come, even before the year ends. Yeah.
Yes, they've got a list of stuff they're working with. But no, and even if it is just like, hey, we're going to take some really good stuff and bring it to the platform that's already made. I mean, like Immortality being available through Netflix is fantastic. Like I played it on the Xbox when it first came out. It's easily like top 5 game of the year for me. And the fact that like a lot of people have a Netflix subscription, you can just download that now on your phone. And I really recommend you do. It's an incredible thing. That's a coup. And these kind of publishing deals allow developers to take risks on slightly weirder games. It's the same thing that happens with Xbox Game Pass, where you can kind of get your entire game paid for, if you like, if you get onto the Game Pass, and it lets you make something slightly niche, slightly unusual, which wouldn't normally get financed. So I'm all for it.
Have you ever, because like the list of games on Netflix roster, I think they're all mostly premium games, right?
Yes,
but
that's right.
Have you ever tried a free-to-play one? Because I did recently, because I was curious how they were going to, right? Isn't it interesting? Because I was curious, how they were going to adjust it. So when Cats and Soup came out for Netflix, it's this free-to-play game. And I noticed, so I tried it because I wanted to see how they would handle it. And the in-app purchases became play points. So I think you have to earn these play points. So you have to progress through the game like for a long period of time before you can earn these play points. But yeah, it's a new model, and I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to turn out. So I think that's the first game, or maybe the only game that's free to play that's on the roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
It's
But
a
it
super
just,
tricky one because the problem that a
yeah,
lot of people have, I find, is that you end up taking something that's designed to be one thing, it's created to be free to play for a reason, and then if you just try and go, oh, we'll just take out the in-app payments, then the game breaks. Like, it doesn't work anymore.
yeah,
Everyone always talks about monetization in these games, and the fact is that when we go to these conferences and we talk to people, all of them say, all the developers, all the publishers say, bake that stuff in from day one. Do not work out whether it's going to be free to play in the last week of development, because you need to know going in. So trying to convert it
yeah,
after the fact. I've seen a couple of games back in the early days. I think Real Racing 3 was like going to be premium, and then it turned into a free to play game. And you kind of felt it a little bit, where it was like, I'm not sure this fits. This doesn't seem quite right. But I'm interested to try that. I'm going to try that one now and see
yeah.
how it works,
Cats
see how
and
it
soup.
feels. Absolutely. Let's have a look. All right. Well, there's your publishers. Well done, Netflix. We're going to go into the second to last one of the evening, the mobile developers. So I'm sure these names will be familiar to you and whatnot, but let's have a look. The best ones for 2022. Here's the list. MiHoYo, Handy Games, Lilith Games, Space Ape Games, Outplay Entertainment, Tilting Points, Dev Sisters, Triple Dot Studios, Eastside Games, and Habit. Some familiar faces there for sure. I know that there was a year when MiHoYo cleared up just about every award for Genshin Impact, which is
Yeah,
I think a game that caught everyone completely by surprise, where they were like, oh yeah, it's another one of these things, open world, and everyone played it and went, hang on, this is really good. Like, I feel like
I
people
think
thought it was a
they're,
Breath of the Wild ripoff, and it turned out to be more than
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think a lot of people have like knee-jerk reactions to these things because I think I'm kind of guilty of that in the sense that I judge a game by its looks first.
Hmm.
But yeah, Genshin Impact was really surprising. And again, speaking of MiHoYo, they have this game called Tears of Themis.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with
I'm
that?
not.
So
That's a new one on me.
it's a romance detective game. And at first I was kind of thinking, are you familiar with the term otome?
Oh,
So
no,
it's
tell me. Otome.
yeah, it's like a Japanese term for like games that are geared towards female gamers.
Okay.
So instead of like, so you kind of play like the female protagonist and you have these male protagonists to choose from. You
Mm-hmm.
can build relationships with them and stuff. So it's kind of like that, but it's not really marketed as an otome game, but it's a romance detective game. And
Right.
initially, people kind of saw it as like something that's kind of like fluffy and shallow and stuff. But when you get into it, it's there the production quality is really, really good. And I think that's something that you would expect from MiHoYo. And
Hmm.
they're not afraid to like uh try and be controversial and then prove everybody wrong afterwards. So that's what's really cool about them, I think.
That's really interesting. They caught everybody off guard that year because everyone, I think, was making sort of, rolling their eyes at this thing that was coming out, and now it's one of the biggest games around. So like everybody was hugely wrong, and
Yeah.
myself included. I played it and went, no, this is good, fair play, well done. So we'll reveal the best developer of 2022. The winner is Dev Sisters. A little smattering of their games there that you can go and check out. So congratulations to them. Now, we are approaching the final category of the evening. Firstly, we want to say that anyone who's been with us so far from the beginning to the end, I want to thank you very much for sticking with us, especially you, Kat, because it's incredibly late for you. And we're
No,
sorry.
it's fine.
Sorry to keep you up so late. This has been made possible by the people who placed votes for all the different categories, for the hard work of the folks over at Pocket Gamer, and of course our sponsors over there, Diablo Immortal. We did give you a little peek at the update earlier in the show, but as people have been drifting in throughout the stream, we're going to give them another reminder of what that update is all about. This is new content coming to Diablo Immortal.
To the west, where iron defies the sea, the wolf of Westmarch hides its spoils.
There you go. Terror's Tide. This is the second major update for Diablo Immortal. We've mentioned before, but you get new content. They've changed some systems. They've brought in the, I'm going to say it this time, the Void Wound Heliquary. That's the same way I said it. I'm going to assume that's right. And added the Storm Point Zone, which I think is the first time they've added a new zone. They may correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, sinister plot to harness the power of the largest world stone shard. So, if you're playing the game and maybe you've thought like, I've seen everything there is to see. No, there is more. You can download Diablo Immortal over there on your iPad, your iPhone, and your Android device. Which brings us to the final category of the evening. Game of the Year. Specifically Mobile Game of the Year. I feel like I should say mobile in front of everything, but you know, you're in the Pocket Gamer channel. We ain't covering no Xbox stuff here. So this is a big old list of stuff. We narrowed it down to 20 contenders in the end, and even that was tough. So we're going to roll straight into it. Here we go. The best games of 2022 are 100 Days, Figure Fantasy, Memento Mori, Sumair, Desta, The Memories Between, Dicey Dungeons, Apex Legends Mobile, Lost Light, Diablo Immortal, Catalyst Black, Streets of Rage 4, Spiritfarer, Pointy, Pikmin Blue, Torchlight Infinite, Survivor.io, Ni no Kuni Crossworlds, Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus, Rocket League Sideswipe, and M.Duck. Little love there for M.Duck at the end. Looks so charmingly low-fi compared to the rest.
Yeah.
There's a lot, isn't there?
So many good games. Oh, so many good games.
It's a tough one. I haven't played Catalyst Black in a while, but that was a big old thing when it originally appeared and has continued to kind of grow over time.
So good.
We've already covered Apex Legends, Dicey Dungeons. I mean, Terry Kavanagh's a legend. You said you got tied into that game. I'm a huge fan of his. He's done some incredible ones. 100 Days again. Let's make some wine. Streets of Rage 4. This is Torchlight Infinite. Yeah, okay, this is good. I'd be happy with any of these.
It's a good thing we're not picking the winner.
No, we just get the easy job of playing and talking about them. That's what we like. All right then, let's bring this thing to a close. The best mobile game of 2022 is Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus from Snowprint Studios. There we have it. Huge congratulations to the folks over at Snowprint. We were able to talk to them earlier in the year, and like I said, we got our hands on with the game, and it was one of the few ones where this feels like a translation of Warhammer. It feels like the game, albeit on a smaller scale, but the core stuff is there, and that's what really mattered. And it really felt like the team got that, and I think it's shone, and lots of people have been voting for it, and so congratulations to them. It's a worthy winner. All of which brings us to the end of the show. Again, Kath, thank you so much for being here and doing this with me. This has been great.
No, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
And we look forward to bringing you back for more stuff in the future. If you've been watching the show all the way through, thank you for being with us. Of course, you can catch up with it because the stream will be available over on our YouTube channel as well as on the Twitch for a little bit at least. So if you want to catch up with what you missed, by all means, go and check. And you can also find the winners over on pocketgamer.com. Go and make sure that one's in your favorite sites because it's a good one. They do good things there. I'm a fan. Of course, thank you to everybody who helps try and put these things together. The folks over at Blizzard with sponsoring the show, thank you to them, and Diablo Immortal. And everybody involved, everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. Kat, thanks again. I hope we get to do this soon. Looking into 2023 right now. And to everybody else, we hope you found something you like. At the very least, there must be something there worth downloading. You've got a bounty of riches. Go grab one of these games. They're good ones. And go play some more mobile stuff in 2023. It's going to be a good year. I can feel it. Thank you all for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.